The evolution of footy has always been a pretty exciting thing for me to watch, but I don't think anyone should be more excited about the way modern footy is being played than likely top 10 draft pick Josh Lindsay out of the Geelong Falcons. The AFL has pretty much turned into halfback paradise, and as the best halfback flanker in the country right now, Lindsay is going to have clubs lining up for him, and I personally couldn't be happier for him. His stock from a positional standpoint has gone through the roof, and the fact that he was the MVP for the AFL Academy side, along with one of the better contributors for Vic Country in the National Championships, plus his ultra good form for the Geelong Falcons, means that this young man is going to be stepping into a game that has been built for him. And that's pretty cool. Because you look at the way the AFL is being played, as I said before, meters gained, back half play, all of those kinds of things are becoming more and more prevalent as more teams gain ascendancies in their back halves. And whilst there are plenty of stats out there that are pretty empty that good and bad teams can rack up in, if we look at what teams are trying to do out of their back half, the gap between the contenders and the rest of the competition is stark. And they need to. These sides that are not playing that great of football need to load up on this kind of talent. Think of how amazing Adelaide would be if they could land Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. Look at the kind of years that Lockie Ash and Bailey Dale are putting together. Lindsay is going to be stepping into an AFL program where he is going to be able to thrive like these players are. You look at what clubs have been able to do, such as rebound 50 rate, for example, where all 9 teams lead the way in rebound 50 rate that are currently vying for a final spot. And when you look at other stats like defensive 50 to forward 50 chains, scores, score launches, and more, these contenders know that if they are able to generate positive ball movement out of the back half, it is going to lead to high reward. And also being able to defend the turnover. You even look at some of the sides that are not operating, to a high standard. Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera and Jack Sinclair are leading the way. 2 of the top 3 rated general defenders in the competition so far. North Melbourne are over the moon with Colby McKercher and should be. Richmond are developing nicely with Sam Banks and Tom Brown, although they still haven't really got that Jaden Short-esque player next up, and you can give Jaden Short as much crap as you want to. The man won a best and fairest in a premiership year. Not a whole lot of players can say they've done that. Corey Enright did it twice, as did Josh Gibson. The only 2 players that have done it multiple times in the 2000s. And where did they both play? Down the back half. And I'm not saying that's what Lindsay's going to turn into. In fact, at about 185 centimetres, if you take out the general defenders, your Nick Blakeys, your Josh Worrells, who are considerably taller than that, you look at the guys that are leading the way for player rating or even rebound 50s, if Lindsay can turn himself into a Dane Zorko, of course, that would be of the upper echelon, I'm not going to lie to you, but a guy like Lockie Ash even would be a considerable get. And sure, a Liam Duggan and Caleb Daniel have got their limitations, and a guy that turns into one of those would be a definite reach from a top 5-6 pick standpoint, I should say. But you've got guys like Carl Amon, who you would absolutely love in your side in terms of a development piece. Lindsay's rebounding ability, averaging 26 disposals for the Geelong Falcons. The fact that he was one of the first picked in the under-18 side on a halfback flank. And I'm not saying that he needs to go into the midfield. In fact, this positional versatility I find with most under-18s players to be heavily overrated. Yes, Nasiah and Jack Sinclair can go into the midfield, and I'm sure Colby McKercher could, because that's what he was at under-18s level for the majority of his draft year as well. But he's thriving down back as well. But overall, guys like Bailey Dale and Lockie Ash and these guys, they don't need to go into the midfield. And neither would Lindsay. But the fact that you look at 2 of the better teams in the competition, Josh Dacos at Collingwood, who was a best and fairest winner in a premiership team, an all-Australian wingman, even when Collingwood went and traded for Dan Houston, took Josh Dacos and turned him into a rebounding defender. You look at Brisbane, who lost Kitty Coleman last year as the reigning premier, and put Dane Zorko down there and he became an All-Australian. And then Kitty got hurt again. And instead of sticking with the crew they had, put wingman Jasper Fletcher on a halfback flank who is producing career best football in the last 2 months. Don't kid yourselves. Just getting a halfback flanker who can find the footy is nice to have in your team. But whereas in years, seasons past, where that might not have been the best option, Lindsay's going to be there at the top end of the draft, and so he should be. He is going to be the beneficiary of not only being an absolutely brilliant under-18s player, but footy clubs are looking at how contenders are playing, and in trying to close that gap, speed on the ball out of the back half is going to become somewhat of a priority, and he delivers that in spades. And considering outside of guys like Daniel Annabelle, Dylan Patterson, Zeke Euland, these guys, you're looking at the teams that are going to look at Josh unbelievably well. And for me, he's not getting past St Kilda's pick. So that leaves you with West Coast, Richmond, Essendon, and St Kilda. It's going to be one of those four. I would be shocked if it wasn't. And if it wasn't, it may be because a side has traded up to get him. But as it stands now, if the picks remained the same, if he got past St Kilda, I would be flabbergasted. And if Nazaya left, he would be a really good replacement. He really would. And if they were able to keep Marcus Windhager, maybe the need for an out-and-out midfielder might not particularly be there. But West Coast are interesting because in a side that needs nearly everything, is a rebounding halfback flanker what you're looking for? Well, he still could be. He really could. Considering you've got back-to-back picks, if West Coast don't agree with me that Dyson Sharp is the guy they want at the top, he would be one to look at. It would be more of a shock, I think, than the other three clubs, but I still think that's a viable option. Richmond, like I said, with Banks and Brown, maybe a little bit more unlikely, even though I have mocked Josh to the Tigers a few times this season already, and I still think that would be a really good pickup. I think the two clubs that are most likely to take him are Essendon and St Kilda. And I am very much saying that if St Kilda still have him on the board at their pick, I would be running to the podium to get him. But if I'm Essendon, Matty Rosa, do not let him get away from your picks. The amount of times I have mocked a Sam Grill or someone like that to the Bombers and gone, look, the one detractor he may have is a foot skill issue. And the amount of Bombers fans that are saying to me, Daz, for crying out loud, just get us a good ball user. I'm trying because he is your guy. You're going to get Adam Swede through the midfield or on a wing if that's where you want to start him. You are going to get El Akhtar as a small forward. Of course, you've got Kako there as well. Andy McGrath is playing some career best footy, it looks like, through that midfield as well. So who is it down back that is delivering the ball really nicely? I'm an Archie Roberts fan. But Lindsay or Jackson Pryor, for me, is a no-brainer. And Archie is not exactly a perfect ball user. But he and Lindsay is a combination. Whew, that could be a frightening one. But I'm really pumped to see which club gets Lindsay. And I'm really pumped for him. As every single time I watch vision of him, whether it was live at the time or going back to do mock draft research, every single time I watch him, I'm impressed. And yes, part of this is a little facetious for me because when ESPN and Rookie Me Central had Lindsay in the double digits in April, I had him mocked in my top 6. And that, I think, has been justified since. And other AFL coaches and the way the game is being played, I think is furthering how correct that initial take was. So what do you guys think of Josh Lindsay? Comment below, let me know. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. I hope you're having an amazing week. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.